I have 8:30. Let's bring the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Artisan,
Here.
Mr. Lewis,
Seated.
Mr. Dixon,
Here.
Mr. Bakley,
Here.
Mr. Carter,
Here.
Mr. Postles, Mr. Shilo. We have a quorum.
Okay. First on the agenda is approval of minutes. The minutes of August 28th, 2025 will be considered for approval.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay. Yay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes. Public comment period. Anybody from the public wish to comment?
Yes. Do I do that from here? Okay, my name is Henry Phones. I'm the Frankstown Township Manager. And the two reasons I'm here first is to address any questions that you all may have about the solar ordinance, zoning ordinance that's on your agenda. Reviewing the agenda, I didn't see the thing that I have questions about the most. That was regarding an email that I received on the 21st from Mr. McFarland describing a shutdown or reduction in services. I just wanted to know if that was going to be addressed later in the meeting. I didn't see it specifically on here. And if that's going to entail a conversation or if it's not going to be addressed at all. I know this is a public comment period, not a back and forth. I've never been to one of these meetings, so I'm not sure how formal you keep them. But I mean, if it's going to be addressed later, we're going to get more information. I'll just sit down now and end my comments.
In a nutshell, the development services will continue as long as we're able to do them. And if there's municipal support, like phone calls you have and things like that, they will also be handled as long as we can. But there may be a delay relative to how we normally would operate, just because we have to cut back a little bit to extend the amount of time that we're able to actually be open. We have to cut hours back. So that's basically it in a nutshell what we're looking at.
Right. I got that from the email, and I appreciate the email.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not here to complain. I just have legitimate questions because these are the questions that are going to be brought to me, and I don't like telling my residents and developers in our area that I don't know. Just seems like there's a lot of unknowns, even as you just explained it now, Dave. That you know, if somebody brings, you know, we have 4 pending now that are going through, you know, our saldo that eventually are going to make it to, you know, they're planning for review.
Right.
And then Anita's telling us that she will not record anything that's not approved by planning. So, you know, I don't know what to tell my people. And we got, you know, reductions sometimes as long as if maybe, you know, they're gonna beat me up in the grocery store. You know, if I can't give them some specific answers.
Yeah,
So, you know, I mean, is that something that you're going to pound out with some detail?
We gotta get
Is
some
it-
more detail on it.
Is there a Monday, Wednesday, Friday office hour period? Is there?
Right.
And I got to be able to
Yeah, and
take
that's-
something back to my board.
Yeah, we'll be getting that back to people.
Okay.
Because we realize that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what the answer was. His
For-
last answer.
No, I said we'll be hammering some things out and get more details back.
During this meeting.
No, I gotta get out to everybody because, you know, there's 24 municipalities, so we'll get more details out to other people as we go on.
I guess my question is it further on the agenda and will it be announced during this meeting?
Not necessarily, no. Because we gotta hammer out the who, the where, and then, but the development reviews will continue. Because the board will continue to meet, whether there's staff or not, the board will continue to meet. And so that part will continue. And then the signatures would be bumped up to one of the executive committee in terms of getting things recorded. So that function will continue, whether it's with staff or with just the board.
So
Yeah.
somewhere in this agenda, it is going to go over what the hours are going to be and who is going to be available.
Not during the meeting.
that is, I think, part of the reason that the municipalities are here, because, you know, we rely on Blair Planning, we pay Blair Planning for yearly fee. We all have different projects that are going on, and we would really like to hear what the plan is from the board for the shutdown period.
If that comes up there's an item at the end about the commissioners' forum. If they discuss it at that point, then that's when it will happen. I can't speak for the board though.
Well, I'm Doug from Kansas Township. I guess, I know there's a lot of things just up in the air. I guess, from my perspective, with your staff specifically, Sherry McKenzie, there's things that we're conversing almost weekly on. If that stops, it's going to be a bit of a problem. So I just want to say, as you're moving forward, trying to figure those things out, if everybody's gone and it's just the board reviewing plans, no offense, that's not my primary concern or where I'm getting a lot of benefit from Blair Planning right now. So that's my 2 cents. If there's anything we can do to keep those services going in some manner, that's what Kansas Township needs right now.
And
As well as Bellenberg.
Yeah, that's what we're working on. We hear that.
Okay, continuing on. The County Commissioner Liaison Forum.
She's not able
He's
to
not here
attend.
today.
Okay. All right. Moving on to development applications. First one we have on the list is Nails Square.
All right, well, thank you for having me again. Just for the record, Ryan Ketcherman Stewart Group Consulting here to talk about the major development reviews for October. First one we'll be talking about is Nail Square in the city of Altoona. This project is a nail salon that's it's an existing building that's getting remodeled, and the development that we were reviewing is some site work that is being performed by Eads Group for the owner, Kim Andy Doe. And I have just a disclosure to make that earlier this week I started working for the Eads Group in addition to the Stewart Group. I did this review prior to starting employment with Eads. I had no involvement in preparing the plans, and in the future, when Eads Group submits, somebody else from Stewart Group will be doing those reviews. But this review I did prior to my employment with the Eads Group. So the idea for this project is renovating the existing 1,500 square foot building, which was not part of the review that we had before us, and redoing the parking lot was the subject of the review. There'd be 11 new parking spaces and installation of landscaping for the project. This is in the city of Altoona. It's the southeast corner of, should say, East Plank Road and Frankstown Road, and it's the former Bart's Auto Care building. The site itself is a little less than 1/3 of an acre. The parking lot that's there is in really bad shape. You've got the alley on the east side of the site. One thing that is kind of noted in the review is that the site was rezoned from highway business to corridor commercial by the city of Altoona on September 8th, and that's kind of relevant to some of the standards that might apply to the work that's happening here. Got the site plan with the existing building, new parking lot, landscaping installed. I'll be talking a little bit about this landscaping island where you've got the access out to Frankstown Road, and then you also have the alley along here. This part of the parcel, this corner is part of the parcel. There's no proposed work or paving on that area. There is a large billboard where the stand for the billboard's about here, and the billboard extends over the edge of the building. One of the effects of this redoing of the parking lot would be a reduction in impervious surface, because currently there is no landscaping. There's about 1,800 square feet of landscaping that's proposed, so you'd see a slight improvement in stormwater conditions. This is the site. The reason I chose this angle of the building, because it's this building here, but typically when I load a photo, it's more front on, like the way you normally look at the building. But the reason for including it from this angle is that the access out to Frankstown Road coming here is right on this curve from East Plank Road, and there'd be a proposed landscaping island here. And what I wanted to do, and this was to illustrate one of the comments that we had about that landscaping island. I'm going to go back a slide. So we're talking about this point here where you've got landscaping here, and the recommendation with the landscaping was that the city would want to take a closer look at conditions for maintenance of that landscaping, because the proposed plantings may be an issue with sight distance when somebody's trying to take a right turn and you've got somebody else coming around the bend here. So that's why you don't get the normal pretty front-on picture that we usually use. So that leads into the recommendations on this project. The city's got to determine which standards they're actually applying. It's clear that the applicant had designed the project when it still had highway business zoning, and then applicant submitted the plans shortly after it got rezoned to corridor commercial. One of the challenges with that is that the parking design doesn't meet some of the new setback requirements in corridor commercial. I'm going to jump back a couple slides again. So city adopted some standards where parking spaces need to be a certain distance from both the road and interior lot lines, like this alley. That's something that is often done for aesthetic reasons. This current design meets the highway business standard. It doesn't meet the new corridor commercial, or doesn't clearly meet the new corridor commercial. In the review letter, there was also some comments on how the new zoning was adopted, where some of the provisions weren't complete for actually effectuating those new setback standards. I talked with Sabrina McMillan at the city about this, and they understand that they've got a few things to sort through, but in the end, as long as the site work meets city standards and they've addressed the site distance issue that I pointed out, our recommendations are that those are municipal level concerns that the city of Altoona can sort out with the applicant, and that once that meets the municipal requirements, that it could proceed consistent with Allegheny's ahead, because it's just parking lot and landscaping improvements and redoing of an existing building. So that's the Nails Square project. Any questions on that one?
Was there a reason why they weren't putting parking behind the building or using that space behind the building?
There was no information on that in the materials that I had. I didn't ask Sabrina when I talked with her, but my assumption was that because there's a billboard that's in that location, that there may be some kind of lease with the billboard company. If I go back, so this billboard is on the property, and the area where nothing's happening is sort of this wall of the building out to the alley, and that includes the billboard area.
That might be owned by the billboard company?
Yeah, it's probably leased by the billboard company. When in other jurisdictions, when I've worked on permits that involve billboards, typically they lease a pad on the property.
And then you have access to the structure.
Right.
And those leases are usually lifetime. You just can't remove those billboards. The big elephant in the room with that particular project is that was a former gas station for years, and it wasn't an auto parts store, it was auto parts and repair. It would be my recommendation that they go through, with the state, a hazardous mitigation, because there's probably heavy metals on that lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if there are found any heavy metals on that lot, they will not be able to do all that planting because the state's going to have to put in monitoring systems. It's the same thing we ran into with Walgreens. They had a beautiful landscaped point, and the state came in and shut the project down and made them encapsulate that whole thing. That's why you got that big concrete slab out there, because the ground was contaminated. And I got a sneaking suspicion that's going to be the same situation with that lot.
Yeah, that would make sense as something to look at on that prior use. So.
I think we should recommend that they consider moving those couple of spaces that are out in the front of the building, behind the building, if that's possible to get that lot, even if they have to negotiate with the billboard company, and then do something with the front of that property that dresses up the landscape or whatever in front, that makes that more attractive. That's like a major gateway building there, It could be, a nice green space in front of the building might look a lot more attractive than a couple of parking spaces up front that are almost inaccessible anyhow. There has to be a way that they could, come into the alley space and go, park, parallel to the, perpendicular to the back of the building. Those 3 spaces in front could be perpendicular in the back of the building. In the front of that whole property there could be, nicely landscaped to give the building a nicer setting. I mean, I don't know. I think that's a recommendation I think we should make, not necessarily a command to do that, but that'd be something to consider since it's in such a prominent location.
So if I'm tracking what you're saying, these 3 spaces, maybe do these parallel, move some of the landscaping to be more visible, and then are you suggesting access to the alley and have the turn off the alley?
I'm thinking that maybe if they want to keep this pathway through there, I think you could actually come in through the alley and park, perpendicular to the back of the building, and take those spaces. All these spaces here could be perpendicular to the back of the building, and that would create even coming around here. This would create interior, entrance. I don't know if they can get out this way. I guess they can't. But they could go out the alley, and that might even be safer to go down the alley and come back out. I know it's an inconvenience. It may not be readily apparent to their customers, but this is really messy here, I think.
Could you flip back to your photo of the building from that angled view? I don't know if we have received or would be receiving PennDOT's comments on this, but that egress that's proposed, that would be a super dangerous place to try to pull out with cars buzzing around that corner. I wouldn't assume that PennDOT would even approve that. I would think that PennDOT would not want cars pulling out like that right onto an access. Really, that's a highway access, on Frankstown Road. It would be so much safer to essentially direct those cars leaving that parking lot to use the alley as their egress. At least it's a few feet further away from making that turn. The other thing that I would think that would be really a concern is, as much as I'd like to see landscape there and that lot approved, the landscape that's proposed right on that corner potentially is going to restrict the sight of both the cars that are exiting Plank Road and the cars that are trying to exit that parking lot. On day one, those may be just low bushes and grass, but over time those will grow up, and I would think that could really turn into a dangerous place of trying to pull out, and I would not recommend utilizing the proposed egress that's shown there onto Frankstown Road.
I would concur that driveway be taken out and the access to be on the alley. And as far as the landscaping goes, there are bushes and shrubs out there that only reach a minimum height of maybe 3-4 feet. We can make the recommendation that we actually put a height limit on those bushes so that they do not interfere with sight distance.
That back lot that's not finished, maybe they could work with the sign people to have the employees park back there. And when they know they're gonna work the sign, they could adjust their parking. Because they have limited parking, I don't know how many people that.
Yeah, the proposed amount of parking is compliant with the city standards for parking for barber shops.
Oh, is it?
But yeah, there's room back here, and I don't have any information on why nothing is proposed there. I'm just speculating that it may be a lease.
Any further comments or recommendations?
Should we approve this or just send it back for revisions?
Well, I think we should approve it with our recommendations. We'll have to leave, a lot of this up to the municipality because, it has to comply with their ordinances. Plus, the state's going to be involved with this site. So a lot's going to depend on the development of that site as to what the state wants done.
Have we worked with the Stewart Group before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so one thing that I'll add that I didn't say in my verbal comments, but is in the written comments, is that the applicant has already applied for a highway occupancy permit. That material was included in the submittal, but at least as of the time that that material was prepared and sent to us, they didn't have a response from PennDOT yet on their highway occupancy
Well, that's
permit.
going to be another issue too, because the PennDOT may come back and say that one on that curve has got to be taken out because it's just too close to the traffic flow and the curve there. On that situation, I don't care, there's really not going to be a good entrance and exit on that lot, no matter what you do. But I do believe that the best ingress and egress would be off of that alley. So.
Do they show, currently they show an access entrance to that lot from Plank Road. Is that potentially proposed as one way? Would there be cars allowed to leave that lot
Yes.
back onto Plank Road?
The way I'm reading this is that this would be right in only off of Plank Road, and it looks like there may be a joint access easement with the building next door, and then coming around, and then it's right turn only out on this side.
Well, the building next door, their parking lot is like real small and it's right in front of their building. So for vehicles to go, if there's anybody in that parking lot, for vehicles to go through that lot and into this lot, it's going to be virtually impossible. So they're going to have to use that one off of Plank Road. And the one on Frankstown Road probably should be eliminated and utilize the alley.
You may use a lot of alleys, there's another alley that connects and gets over to the red light right on the other side of the, so yeah, I think they have to use a lot of alleys. You know what I mean? Where's this thing? This alley goes down here, right,
sorry.
down that, that last picture was great. Let's go down that alley right there, there's a turn to the left, and you hit the main road and you hit the light right there at the shopping center. So that'd be the way to exit that place safely, don't matter which way you're going.
Well,
They probably realize that.
well, hopefully the drivers realize that.
They'll figure it out. That's scary going out of there, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a real scary corner there.
So I'd like to move that we disapprove the plan with recommendations in our letter to relocate the parking behind the building because of the dangerous, conditions and poor access from both Frankstown Road and Plank Road. That this may be more efficient and improve the appearance of the front of the building in some kind of words.
Well, if we're going to disapprove it, then we would have to also utilize the fact that they're gonna have to have some sort of conversation with the state about hazardous waste mitigation on that lot, because that's gonna, like I said before, it's gonna affect the landscaping and everything else if they find contaminants on there. Because the state will not allow you to plant anything on there without it being monitored. So, with that, the recommendation is that we deny this and put in the comments as to why we're denying it. That we need the state to be involved with the hazardous mitigation plan to see if there are hazardous waste there, and if there are, that needs to be addressed. And as far as the access goes, we have questions about the access.
So our reservations, in essence, potentially for the motion, if you agree, and would be that our reservations are the hazardous mitigation, parking, landscape, and egress.
Yes.
So, is that the essence of your motion?
Yes.
Okay, I second that.
Okay, do I hear a third? Okay. All those in favor, say yay.
Okay.
All those against, say nay. Hearing no nays, the motion passes. Okay, Regal's Gap telecommunication tower.
All right, so this next one is in Antis Township. It's the Riggles Gap Telecommunications Tower. The project is proposed by the Crossroads. Actually, it's proposed by Vertical Bridge. It's been designed by the Crossroads group on land leased from Andrew and Patricia Fink. The project itself would be a 190-foot tall monopole tower and includes new access and stormwater facilities. So it's on the north side of Riggles Gap Road there in Antis Township. It's an area with poor current cell service. The site, the parcel that it's proposed to be on is a little over 4 acres. The development would impact 0.95 acres, staying below that NPDS threshold. The owners also have an adjacent parcel. Don't show the parcels here, but highlighted the area where the work would happen. So you got an access road, and then the tower would be here. The parcel it sits on is roughly L-shaped and comes out like this. And then the Finks also own this parcel here with the house on it, which kind of makes for a rectangular holding, but the tower's on one of their 2 parcels. Drainage for the project would eventually, there's a proposed infiltration area here, and then that discharges to a roadside ditch that's along the edge of Riggles Gap Road, and then makes it down to Riggles Run. So this illustration is just from the plans, shows what the tower would look like, and then you've got a fenced off area that would be around what's termed on the plans the leased area in the back around the base of the tower. And then the proposal would include the installation of infiltration swales along the new driveway, and then an infiltration trench at the road. Our recommendations for this is that Antis Township and Blair County Conservation District first need to verify a little bit of missing watershed information that should have been included in the plans that wasn't there, but that's kind of a routine thing that they can handle. And the township may need inspection and maintenance easements for those stormwater facilities. Typically, their SALDO calls for that. Those easements were there to benefit Vertical Bridge on the property owner's site, but those easements weren't drafted in a way that provided the township with the same kind of access that the SALDO would typically call for. So if Antis concurs that they need that access easement, then that should be added to the plans, and once it's there, after municipal review, then they can move forward. If it happens, our notes on this one. look like this is actually should have been from a different one, so ignore what we've got. Yeah, so this doesn't have anything to do with job creation or sidewalks. But the project doesn't have, sorry about that. So ignore what this slide says, but the project, once it's after municipal review, Allegheny's Ahead does talk about expansion of telecommunications equipment, and so this would be supportive of that. There would be some visual impacts and such on the neighbors. So that's a consideration, but otherwise appears to be compliant with the plan.
Sorry, that was my fault. I moved his slides around to make it match with our agenda. Sorry.
It's all good. Any questions or comments on that?
Any significant concerns from you?
No.
I move to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes. Forneri Dog Daycare.
Yep.
I hope I pronounced that right.
I'm going to follow how you pronounced it. So Faneri Dog Daycare it is. And this is our third and final major development this month. It's also in Antis Township. Same disclosure, this project was designed by EADS Group. Just started working for EADS Group. I did this review before working for EADS, and in the future when EADS submits something to be reviewed, somebody else from Stewart Group will be handling those. But this project is a dog daycare facility proposing a new 4,400 square foot building that includes dog runs and some outdoor space for the dogs, 20 new parking spaces, and some stormwater facilities. Actually, so just point out there's existing access here that would be rebuilt a little bit. This oval thing is the infiltration for the stormwater facilities, and then obviously you can see the parking. One other thing that we'll talk about a little bit is there is an existing building here that appears to be remaining on the site that I have some comments about. So this is in Antis Township. It's on Sabbath Rest Road. It's the former Golish Nursery and Garden Center. It's immediately north of Sandy Run. So those are all kind of factors when considering work on the site. This has got a little bit more detail with topography and the proposed infiltration area. The total site itself is just under 3 acres with, again, up 0.95 acres of site disturbance, keep below the NPDS requirements. The building that remains up here is about 1,400 square feet. Didn't have those details provided, but just measuring that out from Google Earth, it's around that size. There are also some on-site wetlands and floodplain. These are not being directly affected by the proposal. So Sandy Run is roughly this location, just off-site. Part of the site on the south side there is within the 100-year floodplain, but no work is proposed within the 100-year floodplain. There are also some on-site wetlands. It's a little bit hard to see, but that's what this feature is. There's another one back here, and then there's a series of linear wetlands along this side of the property and a little bit off-site on the adjacent property. Looked to me like it's probably a small stream that had been modified by prior use in the vicinity. One thing to note with this stormwater pond here is the topography lines. What these curves are showing is that this would be the spillway if there's ever a large storm event that exceeds the capacity of that pond to hold and infiltrate, then it would be discharging over to those wetlands. That's looks like another one that got with the slides getting shuffled. But the site itself here, this is what it looks like today. So these two smaller buildings are no longer present on site based on, so these aerial photos are a couple years old, and then Google Street View shows only this building remaining, and that's the only one there on the plans. Sandy Run's in the back. These are the linear wetlands along this side. This feature here is shown as a wetland, and then there's also a wetland in this area where there's no site work proposed. So our recommendations on this would be first that the Blair County Conservation District should really take a look at the stormwater plans. The concern that I had with the proposal is just really related to use, because the larger stormwater facility is basically going to be a low area that's going to be grass most of the time. And that's how those infiltration ponds usually look. But when you're right next to a dog daycare and people are out walking the dogs using that grassy area, there may need to be some conditions related to the use of that on any approval for the project, because when you get a lot of dog waste concentrated into a location that's discharging into the wetland under the NPDES requirements, that's one of the things that Blair County Conservation District will have to look at is pollution discharge into the wetlands and stream system. So just wanted to highlight that as something that the Conservation District should take a close look at during their review. The township probably should take a look at the use of the existing building. I didn't have any information in the material provided to me. I don't know if that building's occupied. The reason I'm bringing it up is because typically if you have an occupied building, you have some parking and other things associated with that. There's room on site to add parking if it is occupied, and if it's just a vacant building that's sitting there, that's fine. But from what I had no information on what's going on with that building. But after review of municipal saldo and requirements, we felt that project could probably proceed. And when looking at the regional plan, Alleghenies Ahead supports job creation, so this would bring in some new employment in an area that had employment when that landscape nursery was still there. And our recommendation is that if you're comfortable with the project, that it be approved as consistent with the Alleghenies Ahead plan. So any questions on the Fernari dog daycare?
Well, the only comment I would have is, and it's not really anything major, it's just more of a red flag. That stream, we ran into problems with rudders during a storm, and the sediment went into that stream. And apparently that stream is a nursery stream for brown trout, so any kind of pollutant or anything could destroy that. And like I said, it's just a red flag that they should be aware of to make sure that they protect that stream at all times. That would be the only thing I would suggest. Do I hear anything else? Do I hear a motion to pass?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay. All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes.
All right. Number 8 on your agenda, that is what 2 months worth of the staff level reviews looks like that went to your email. Those are the low level reviews that don't rise to the level to have them come to our meeting and be reviewed. These are the ones, like I said, that have gone out to you since the beginning of September via email. And these are mostly subdivisions, lot consolidations, and minor developments. Were there any questions on number 8? I know there's a lot to get through on there, so take your time.
Any comments, concerns? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to pass all these reviews?
Motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes.
All right. Number 9 on your agenda is the draft comprehensive plan update for the borough of Hollidaysburg. I initially sent this out to you, or sent a draft out to you at the beginning of August. We have since revised it a little bit. Andrew Holodnik, the Director of Community and Economic Development for the borough. We have since edited it a bit to make it a little more visually appealing. But the version that we put out October 1st, and it's currently in its 45-day public comment period. I will take you to the draft plan as well as the website that we created for the project. But I did want to highlight the major updates that we made to the plan were just, if you remember when we initially reviewed it in December of 2023, it was really lacking any kind of follow-up with the implementation plan. So something that we really, really wanted to highlight and carry through were specific projects for implementation that we could put into the plan that held specific entities or organizations or parts of the borough liable for actually getting this stuff accomplished throughout the 10-year time frame. Another thing that you'll notice, obviously just in the different cover here, we have completely changed the design throughout the plan, so it looks a little bit less like a research paper and a little bit more like a plan from the 21st century. And the last thing that we kind of focused on, I would say, as a thematic element in this plan, hopefully if this loads, is embedded planning. Embedded planning is the concept of the planner really being out in the community and engaging with the community. And that was something that we thought was really important with the amount of momentum that was behind the Hollidaysburg plan and kind of what brought us back to the drawing board with doing the outreach for it a second time. So this is the comp plan website that we created to get people engaged with the new draft of the comprehensive plan. It shows that the public comment period begins on October 1st, and they're having their borough council review on December 11th. This just kind of goes over the 6 priority outcomes. These did not change since the initial rendition of the plan. We just kind of honed in on them a little bit, which is still support and facilitate local economic growth, retain small town character and vitality, expand housing options, improve borough streets and sidewalks, improve stormwater management, and integrate economy, recreation, and culture. So like I said, these did not change. However, the way that we interacted, or the way that we implemented these concepts into the integration or the implementation plan that did change. So this once again goes over embedded planning. Embedded planning, this is a quote from Jonathan Pacheco Bell. He's the consultant that we used to help us with the Hollidaysburg comp plan to really make sure that embedded planning is at the forefront and is the through line for this plan. But it explains that embedded planning situates the planner on the ground and in the community to understand people's needs. And that was foremost what we felt was very important and very evident to us when we redid the outreach for the comp plan. We also included a section here where it's probably not going to load, but oh, awesome, where people can read the plan, look through it, and provide any feedback or comments. They go straight to Andrew, and they can kind of review it at their own leisure. I'm gonna see, hopefully this opens up. This is the draft version of the plan. Maybe if I try again. And if not, that's okay. But I think a lot of the graphics and a lot of what you're able to see here, this graphic specifically is directly pulled from the plan. So those kinds of things were not included in the original manuscript that we were given. Okay, so we have the table of contents. I'm just going to briefly kind of scroll through the first part of the plan. As you can see here, we kind of changed how each of these chapters functions so that it shows you exactly what you're getting from each section. We have an executive summary that highlights how we reached each of these primary objectives. As I said, I believe I've sent both copies of this in email, so hopefully you've had the opportunity to look over this over the last 2 months. But Andrew and I have worked extremely hard on this project over the last, 2 years? To turn this into something that we feel actually represents the work that is being done in Hollidaysburg and like I said, the momentum behind the people in the community who are wanting change and who believe that this is the path to get there. So we're really excited about that. Yeah, and I don't know if anybody has any questions on the comp plan or the letter. I believe the letter is in your review packet, but the comments essentially just note what has been changed in the original draft version that was submitted to us in 2023 versus what we received in the submission in August or October of 2025. Any questions on that? Yes.
Does the borough address alternate actions based on the commissioners dealing with the prison?
So when it comes to the prison, we have addressed that as one of the action items of our comprehensive plan to have a conversation with the county, because ultimately, with the discussions about the prison being moved to another location, then the borough now has a vacant prison, and statistically and looking at history, prisons don't easily get retrofitted to new things. So it comes down to what does the county have? What does the county want to do? What does our zoning? How's our zoning aligned to what the county wants to do? So there's a lot of things that are going to be questioned when that process comes. One of the things we suggested in our comprehensive plan was to create kind of like a committee of borough representation and county commissioners to discuss what the plans are and plan accordingly across the next 10 years on what to do with that site, should the county definitely decide to build and move. If that answers your question, sir.
And another thing that complicates it is that part of that structure is historic.
Yeah, the whole property is located within our historical district, so and I can tell you, this is not new to Hollidaysburg. This is not new to the state. Lancaster is going through a similar situation right now, where they have an old prison, they're building a new prison, it's in their cultural district. What do we do with the prison? Prisons are one of those things that it's becoming, as they age, when you build a new one, the question comes up to, what do you do with an existing vacant building? And that's, hopefully, between the committee, we'll be able to come up with something over the next 10 years.
Well, I'm 80 years old. I hope by the time I die that they figured out to tear it down and build a parking garage.
With regard to market rate housing, were there any specific areas targeted for development of market rate housing? Is there any land left in Hollidaysburg for that? Or
I know we're looking at doing more in-depth studies to the market rate housing question. One of the areas that we were looking at was the downtown corridor, like the Allegheny Street, downtown Hollidaysburg area. A lot of those apartments on the second and third floors of those businesses. But at the same time, we're also interested in looking outside of that whole That's another thing we're gonna dive into more in the future.
But yes, that's a priority in the plan. The
Was there any
micro-growth.
changes to the zoning of the Stoll Farm or market rate housing? Or is that?
So
is that
the
done now?
The changes that were relevant to the Stoll Farm just essentially reflected that it was changed from TND to conservation recreation. And then as far as future use, we referred to the stormwater project that's being done, and potential for future projects there, but now that it's privately owned, or I guess it was privately
It's probably,
yeah, so I'm not really sure that there is potential for development at this point for the Stoll Farm, but there were definitely it was still, I believe, adequately addressed, that part anyway.
Was there any plans for continuing trails up the Chimney Rocks through Hollidaysburg, like through, like, say, Nature Works Park, like to get up to the top of Chimney Rocks by creating any kind of like connectors from the borough up to the mountain so people can walk up to Chimney Rocks? Is there any consideration for that? Is that enough?
there are some plans for recreation. I can't speak actively right now on where those connections are gonna be and how that's gonna pan out. But there are, I know there are talks through our comprehensive plan and through other committees of additional trails, additional walking space for residents and visitors to the borough. If I can also just add for 2 seconds, this comprehensive plan has been a project that the borough's been working on since 2019. As you all know, we had in 2023 when I came to the borough, we presented the draft to council. Council and the public voiced their opinion. They wanted to go back. I just want it to be known to the board that we could not be where we are today if it wasn't for Blair Planning, especially Mackenzie. Mackenzie's been a huge asset to us. Someone asked me the other day, how many hours do you and Mackenzie have in this plan? I will be honest with you, I can't tell you how many hours we have. There's a picture floating around of me on the 4th of July sitting in my car on my computer working on this plan, driving to Pittsburgh. I'm not driving. My wife was driving. But I'm in the car working on this plan on the 4th of July, going to a family picnic. So there's a lot of literally blood, sweat, and tears between the borough and Blair Planning on this. And I just wanted to emphasize that we could not be where we are right now if it wasn't for Blair Planning and the connections with Jonathan Pacheco-Bell and all the work that's gone into this. This would still be a project sitting on my desk that I gradually work on. So thank you, Blair Planning, for your assistance in this project.
Well, thank you for being here. And I strongly encourage all of you that whenever you have plans or anything coming before us, especially ones that are significant ones, that you be here to talk to us. Because, Mackenzie's wonderful, but, you're there. You guys are working with this, and you guys probably have details that maybe Mackenzie doesn't have. So I strongly encourage all of you that when, you have anything coming before us, please make your presence known. It's helpful. It really is. That way everybody knows what's going on. That's all I have to say. Go ahead.
Andrew's accolades are a little bit of a segue into some questions that I had, because I recognize from what you said and more so from what he said, the amount of time that you've put into this, and it appears to be, at least on the surface, an impressive endeavor. Have we done this with Tyrone or Altoona or Annis Township or any of the townships? Is this the first real, planning, comprehensive planning type of thing like this, or is this just happens to be the biggest and best so far?
I would say this is the first one that I personally have led. Typically, our role in the comprehensive planning process is like what we're doing with Bellwood and Annis, which is they have a primary consultant. They're using Mac and Engineering. They have a primary consultant who does the plan for them, and we consult with the consultant to assist them. Hollidaysburg is a little bit unique in their situation because they had an initial consultant who worked on the plan in 2019, ran out of money, and then just dropped the plan and didn't finish it. And so they had no choice but to, rely on intermunicipal collaboration in order to make this happen. So I would say absolutely the opportunity is available. That's what local share is for us to have the opportunity to work in the municipalities and collaborate on these types of plans. I would love to have the opportunity to do this more, and I'm hoping to get that opportunity working with Bellwood Borough and Annis Township on their current comprehensive plan. But yeah, Hollidaysburg was the first one that, like I said, I've had the opportunity to lead and kind of get to have a lot of flexibility because it was a bare bones plan to start out. So no, I don't think that we have paid as close of attention to our other municipalities the way that we have with the borough with this plan. But I think this absolutely opens the door and shows how we are able to collaborate and do this kind of work for our municipalities and with our municipalities in the future.
You have a question from?
But when I said about working with Mackenzie, it's been great because she's riding hard on our consultant. We have not been through this process before, me personally, or the borough. And so having her as that kind of lead person with the consultant to keep them on task. And right now, we just opened up our public survey. It's been great. Because otherwise, we're fully dependent on the consultant, and they have other projects they're working on, It's been a much better process getting advice from Blair Planning.
And I think the one thing too, that tie in with what you just said was, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys don't have like a community director, community development director in your area. So one of my jobs at Borough is to do things like this, where other communities don't have someone like me. So emphasis on that whole partnership with Blair Planning, that's where it helps a little bit more. Where, other municipalities are dependent upon their consultants. We had both me and Mackenzie to work on this, where it's gonna change a little bit for other areas that don't have those resources.
This might sound like a really bad direction, so it's not a recommendation, just thinking and asking questions. But if you look at the asset that Mackenzie has been to Hollidaysburg and to the county, and you recognize that in some instances municipalities would be paying consultants to do the work that you did. Should Hollidaysburg be contributing in some way to the county for the time that you've put into this, and or if you were to do the same work for a different township or borough, is this something that we should be asking? Or I'm not trying to take advantage, but the reality is that you've contributed significant effort and value to something. I think we'd like to see that continue, but we're also in the county and et cetera faced with some significant budgetary constraints. So is there any way to get reimbursed for or to even accept contributions for the work that you're doing?
That's been the $1 million question that this board has had for years. And we've always been trying to work out ways of recouping funds. It's always an ongoing issue, and it's always something that we're reviewing.
We did adjust the local share this year to start down
They
that
do
road.
pay a certain amount of
Yeah, there's a
hours to
specific
receive
amount of
services from us, and I believe that Hollidaysburg is within what what is allotted to each municipality within their local share. But that's what we're trying. So because we tried this new pay structure where your local share gives you a certain amount of hours of our services, we were really trying to say, hey, let's try and promote this and show like, hey, our services being used for Hollidaysburg's comp plan, now we can use this as a model and show our other municipalities what 20 hours or 40 hours or whatever those services are, what that can do for them.
So that's I think a nice way of turning that around in terms of we've continued to adjust local share requests or local share requirements.
Yes.
You know, in this scenario, you got your money's worth. You know,
Well, you could look at she's doing advisory for them, but when you take the lead part, maybe we should all ask for more money, because I think when she's doing advisory of that, but she takes the lead in something like this, it's approved how valuable that is, and that value should be rewarded. And maybe when we take the lead and they'll see the value of that, the other ones would like to pay a little more to have her take over and manage the project, so she did this one in conjunction with the gentleman. Something to think about, you know. They get so much service, but when we step up and do more, then we have to try to bill them for that.
probably the troubling part in what Andrew described was they paid a consultant, and at some point that consultant, either the contract ended or the consultant backed out, and then essentially the county took over and helped you through the rest of the project. You know, you had the opportunity to pay a different consultant, I suppose. Right?
So to go into a short version of everything. So it started in 19, COVID happened, we had turnover in personnel, both the director of community development, the borough manager, borough council. Then, you know, with everything, you know, we got to a point, we got the draft. By the time we got the drafted version, we had exhausted our expenses for this project. And one of the things that was brought up to council was, you know, the ability from Blair Planning with, you know, local share to utilize what we have here locally and to help try to expedite getting this plan approved. And that's where we are today, is that local partnership.
I don't think we knew what that was going to look like when we started. I think now that we have a little more familiarity with like a shop rate type of situation when it comes to our local share, we can certainly adjust accordingly moving forward. Now that we have a little bit more experience with how those types of projects are going to work in-house. But for our first go at things, at working at a per hour rate for the local share, I thought, like you said, I thought Hollidaysburg received, they made out pretty well. So I do think that there's potential for us to look at the local share rates or look at how that's like the hours and how that's adjusted. But as far as it wasn't like an overextension of our services, it wasn't like an overextension of my abilities or my time. So I was happy to do it. It felt like what I was supposed to be doing. Do we have any questions, any other questions on number 9 on your agenda?
There's a review there,
Yeah, I have a review. You have it in your packet.
so we need a motion.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the review letter?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yeah.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes.
Okay. Number 10 on your agenda is just a zoning ordinance amendment for Frankstown Township. This is to amend their solar ordinance to include some additional rules and regulations related to the use, installation, and decommissioning of the solar systems in the township, as well as to designate a specific zoning district for installation of principal solar energy systems. Any questions on this
By
one?
principle, you mean large scale solar systems, correct?
Correct. yes, we don't have, I think in Pennsylvania, there is no community solar, it's only personal and then,
Personal and utility.
yeah, principal.
Any
So
comments,
it's principal,
suggestions?
it's like utility,
Yes.
utility system, okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to pass the ordinance amendment change?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes.
Okay, number 11 on your agenda, I believe takes up 2 slides on here. This was September and October's Metropolitan Clearinghouse or intergovernmental reviews. These are the ones that are also sent out to you via email. These are for permits, usually for DEP permits, but also if we submitted any letters of support or anything like that. This one here was for the CDBG Community Development Block Grant for Blair County Social Services for the 17 non-entitlement municipalities and 5 entitlement municipalities. So this just breaks down the projects and the funding for each of them. And then this is each of the projects that's listed. Once again, these were sent out to you via email. It looks like a lot because that's 2 months worth up there. So if you have any questions on any of the permits or any of the other intergovernmental reviews, now would be the time to ask. I believe on your agenda, under Juniata Township, Lightner drilling pad is on there twice. But there was just one.
No, there were 2.
Oh, there were 2 different ones?
There were 2. One is Leitner East, the other one was just Leitner.
Oh,
There were
okay.
2.
Okay, I apologize. I was not sure they were different.
Do I hear a motion to pass the staff level reviews for number 11?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. The LSA grant cycle opened the day after, actually it opened September 1st. September 3rd through as of yesterday, all 7 grants were submitted for a total of $2,136,136 if I round it out. Most of it is equipment. The biggest one, of course, as you can see there, is the County of Blair supporting the Blair County Regional Fire Chiefs Association for new mobile radios at a very minimal quantity, unfortunately, due to the cost of each radio for all 22 fire companies in this county. A lot of that had occurred. They're going into end of life cycle with their current mobile radios. They are very costly, between $7,500 and $9,500 per radio. So myself, the fire chiefs, Mark Taylor, the public safety director, met. We determined that we wanted each of the fire stations to determine what is their minimal ask for this project, because the max for an LSA grant is $1 million. There is no local match. So this makes it more enticing for many, many applicants that the state will receive in the statewide portion of the gaming funds. These awards probably won't be announced until about November of next year. In fact, we're still waiting on the awards for last year's submissions. And it is because they get oversubscribed to this funding pot. So every county that has a casino that does horse racing, the gambling money, they have their own pot of local share money. That is legislation that they have to distribute based off the grant applications. The statewide portion is $250 million pot. They typically get between 2,100 to about 2,400 applications, and that's why it takes so long to review these, cycle through, do the comparison, do the competitive points. But I am proud to say that since 2022, I've gotten 6 of them. So I'm very happy about that, including the Humane Society. That was one of mine that I had written. That was a $700,000 award back in 2023. Many of these municipalities rely on this because they simply don't have the funds to do a match requirement for something that other grants require. So we do get a quick fill of interest in this grant when it comes out, and it is new. The first cycle was in 2023, I believe. So these 7 went in. Like I said, since September 2nd was the first one I put in. I just submitted 2 yesterday, so they are finished. So we're ready to go for this grant
So each
cycle.
radio is 75,000?
7,500 to 9,500 per radio.
It's still expensive.
It's very expensive, and it is very tough, as we all know, for volunteer fire companies to, fundraise, pay for their apparatus and $1,000,000 engines and tanker trucks, and turnout gear is anywhere between 4,500 to 7,500, and that's per set for 1 firefighter. So we are blessed in this county for having many volunteer fire companies and firefighters for service. So this one is near and dear to my heart. Thank you.
I don't know if do we need a motion on these, or
Now,
this
this
just
is
an
just
update?
informative. They're all submitted.
Okay. All right. So, under transportation on your agenda, Wes, I don't know if you want to take over. There's quite a few transportation items on here.
Mainly just for informational purposes, unless you have any questions. It's what we do, keep the transportation funding flood. It supports the office organization. It supports all the work that all the staff are doing. So that's just for information.
Okay. Okay. So did none of these items need any action?
Correct. They don't need any action by this board. They will need action by the MPO board.
Okay.
Not this board.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Wes on any of the transportation items that are up here?
Is there anything happening with White Bridge?
No.
Try to throw it out there.
It's worth a shot.
Is there something in the paper on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's, may the minutes show that we've received both grant updates and transportation updates, and that work is appreciated.
Thank you.
Okay, we're moving to administrative items.
So, last month or so, we've been looking at the state budget situation and the impact it is having on our finances. Along with that, if you remember over the summer, we were working on the employee handbook and the financial policy book. Both of those, in conjunction with all this other stuff at the state that was going on, I got those probably to a 99%er. I gave them to Pat to review. He has them under review at this point, so I'm hoping to bring them back. In terms of the state shutdown, I believe we'll be dealing with that with the next agenda item, and we can deal with that at that point in time. But that's where most of my time's been, is those 2 documents and dealing with the impact the shutdown's having on us.
Dave, you're suggesting that we're as we move off of this agenda item onto the next agenda item, we're going to discuss staffing solutions.
Planning Commissioners Forum.
I'd like to personally commend the staff of the planning commission, particularly for all the hard work you did done on the getting grants, and working on the Hollidaysburg Comprehensive Plan, and all the. I want to give you guys some credit for all the hard work that you've done for the past year. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. And I really strongly suggest that, members out there, you please come to our meetings, talk to us, because that's the only way we get information from you. I mean, it's not that the staff isn't excellent, they are, but they don't live in your communities, not all of them. But, it's nice to hear from you. We really appreciate it, and if you got problems, come to us. Let us know, because we don't know. We see we're being presented, and Mackenzie can only do so much, even though she does an excellent job. But you guys are there. You guys are the ones that work there, live there, and we really need your help. Without that, we're kind of flying blind. We only have so much information, but you hold the keys. So, that's all I have to say. All right. Want to move on to announcements?
We want to talk about staffing at this time.
Well, we're going to have to, Pat, do you want to?
Yeah, I think you're going to need to go to executive session briefly to discuss the staffing component of that. And I don't know when you want to do that. You're obviously, it sounds like, based on response from some of the comments you've received, you may want to talk a little bit about what your schedule looks like. You've notified that there is going to be an impact with the state budget on what your operations look like. And if you want to discuss that, I think you may want to discuss your staffing first, and then figure out how that's going to impact your operations. Your staffing piece you can discuss in executive session. So again, I don't know if you want to do that now.
Well, let's do the announcements, and then we'll go into executive session, and then we can reopen.
May I make one comment here? Our staff meeting regarding our closure the first one was on October 3rd. 27 days ago. And for us to come to this meeting again after being told that we were going to have a plan and we were to close 10/31, we were asked by our director and we were asked by our board president to inform our municipalities that we've been working on projects with that we were closing at the end of Friday. We need answers from this board today. This is not acceptable to allow your staff to continue to move on like this. And we don't know what's happening at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Our municipalities don't know. I have directors calling me within the courthouse, particularly the recorder of our plans, to find out what is going on because she can't get answers from our director. She's called me twice. She's called the commissioner's office twice. The commissioners are asking me. I'm not giving them any information because nobody's telling us what is going on. We need answers today before we leave here. This is completely unacceptable. I agree.
So I move that we go into executive committee session directly following this meeting.
So we're recessing and we're going to open back up?
I think, can we do this after we adjourn, or do we?
No, you need to
No,
recess
we'll
and let us
go
come
into
back.
executive session, and then we'll re-adjourn to close the meeting.
Do we know And I second that motion. Do we know, is there another room in this building where the board members and director can meet and then come back in, so we don't have to make you all go back out in the hallway, or can we find that out? Is there another small room in the building?
Yeah, your cameras are running in here, it's being recorded, and I'm fine with stepping out.
Are we supposed to record executive session?
No,
No.
they'll have to all be shut off.
So,
It's up to you guys, you tell us what you want us to do.
should we ask somebody at the water authority if there's a room available?
We just have the cameras removed.
Shut down.
I can turn them off.
How about removed?
Yeah, but the problem is we've got 10 or 12 other people that would like to hear the answers to this, that maybe, where are they gonna stand, out in the hallway, or, so ideally, if
Well,
there's a small.
there's not gonna be anybody in here but us.
No, I know, but Sherry, Rhonda, Mackenzie, Hope, Doug, all these other folks that have to leave the room, and they'd like to come back into the room to hear the answers. So if it's easier for 4 or 5 of us to go into a small room, I would think that would be,
He's checking.
yeah. I'll address this with Dave in our executive session, but for the record, and maybe I missed this in an email, I, as a board member, was not aware of these issues in any way, shape, or form. Maybe I missed an email, that's possible, but it sounds like a significant thing. I would have, maybe I should have got more than that.
I'm with you, I don't know what's going on.
So this is news to you as well?
Yes.
Okay. So,
Excuse me, Dan made one statement, well, in this, or is that not allowed during this time?
that's up to Nick.
Pardon me?
Could I just give a little statement on that section before you guys go into executive session regarding the staffing issue?
Yeah.
Like I said, my name is Hope Ray. I'm from the manager from the Bellwood Borough. I work with both Sherry and Mackenzie on a regular basis. Working with the Planning Commission, these are your 2 faces. And if you want any answers or any interaction, these are who you go to, because we're not getting it from Dave. So I just wanted to let you know that.
What did you find out, David?
I'm gonna shove this partition across.
Well, they'll still have to waive. They'll still have to waive.
Or we would be on that side, but that's certainly not gonna be soundproof if that's a
No,
concern.
they'll still have to waive.
Step out.
Yeah, should we step out?
Well, are we doing announcements or media at this time? Or do you wanna wait?
Well, we can wait. We can go into executive session and then come back in to finish up.
Okay.
We are now going into executive session. Ready? This meeting is now reopened. We have
Announcements and media
announcements.
questions? Or do you want to handle those later?
Well, let's do the announcements first. The announcements, November 4th, Election Day, November 5th, BCTPRA meeting, November 11th, Veteran Day, office closed, November 19th, Southern Alleghenies month meeting, November 27th to the 28th, Thanksgiving, office closed. That concludes that. Do we want public comments or we want to go to motions?
Okay.
Go ahead.
In response to municipality and public comment and concerns, I move to amend the agenda to address staff compensation and commission schedule and continued service.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say yay.
Okay?
All those against say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes.
I move to reduce staff salary compensation to 50% with full benefits from November 3rd, 2025, using strategic funds if necessary, through January 23rd, 2026.
Do I hear a second?
So moved.
All those in favor say,
Before you vote, now this would be the point where, to your question about public comment, because this was a motion that was added by the prior motion and there wasn't an opportunity for public comment prior to the meeting, you'll take an opportunity for public comment now
Okay.
on that motion.
do I hear any public comment?
Regarding is this about the 50% drop in compensation? Does that mean that the staff will be, we won't have access to staff 50% of the time that we do now? Or how are they going to be staffed? I mean, you talk about the compensation, but not the hours of availability for municipalities.
The plan right now is to maintain our Monday through Friday schedule and distribute the staff across that schedule. So there'll always be somebody in the office during normal office hours. At this point in time, it's subject to reconsideration as the situation continues. But right now, the plan that the board discussed was Monday through Friday as normal. But your particular staff person, somebody you need to reach specifically may not be there at that point in time. There'll be somebody there at least to answer the phone, receive plans or receive people, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
And this is a public comment, but it could also include a staff comment or concerns if the staff wanted to address that at this time.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? Are we staggering people? Are any of us being furloughed as of end of business tomorrow and it's only essential staff? What does this look like?
Everybody's at 50% and we're gonna have to stagger across the week. And they left it to us to work out. It's convenient for you on Tuesday and Thursday and you on Wednesday and Friday and things. So we'll work that out amongst ourselves. But we need to cover the 40 hours of the office being open.
So does that then mean that we are eligible for unemployment
Yes.
for the other 50% of the time?
And to clarify, my understanding from discussion was that all of our staff are salaried. So, in effect, we're reducing your salaries by 50%. That's the motion that's on the floor. But it doesn't relate directly to time. That's something that each of you have to kind of work out with Dave. As you're not paid on an hourly basis, so you've got to kind of work the time out together. So.
I don't know a lot about unemployment and how that works, but does that not somehow affect? I don't know exactly what you're suggesting. If somebody is there longer, if you're saying it's not by hours and it's by salary, how does that get worked out with unemployment?
That's probably something to work out later that I think can be discussed.
It was our understanding that, and maybe Attorney Finelli, you want to, that we are under the understanding that you would be fully eligible for, a partial unemployment based on the 50% reduction of salary. So we don't see this as restricting in any way your rights for unemployment. Is that accurate?
That's correct. I mean, an employee whose wages and hours are reduced is unemployed for the period of the time of the reduction. How that works for a specific individual and specific situation, I think is probably not appropriate for public meeting. It could be addressed separately later.
And that's effective as of Monday the 3rd, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Till January 23rd of 2026 at this point. Okay.
Our goal was to not put you guys in the position of not knowing again and having to worry about it week to week or month to month, and so we wanted to at least, using the strategic funds that were available, which it's not a huge amount of money, but there's enough, to be able to give you some assurance of continued employment through at least that period, and let's hope that the state gets this on track.
We appreciate that, working that out. I'm surprised. I don't know if the surprise is the right word. I'm concerned that the whole board didn't know this was going on all this time. And that it almost felt like we were getting one of these when we would have staff meetings, that he said this one said this, we're waiting, we're planned, we're working on the numbers. I had given the numbers of where we were, where the projections were 3 weeks ago. Didn't get an answer, and we've only accumulated more expenditures at that point. I brought up the fact as I was gone for 5 months during this fiscal year as chief clerk. The commission was not paying my salary and benefits while I was gone. We have terminated an employee a year ago in November, and then she had also been gone working for a consultant and came back part-time. My concern was, where was that pot of money that should have been there as a cushion to get us through? And then we hire a consultant where we've paid $18,000 since February to June to do plans, and we still don't have the invoices from that company, that consulting firm, from July until now to October. So I don't understand why these numbers weren't looked at when we were told they were being looked at during this entire month, but we're certainly not going to be able to take care of paying a consultant that is doing this kind of work when we've replaced the person that should have been doing it, the community planner, with a consulting firm that's costing us a lot more money. And it is exhausting our funds. But we still don't know where that money was that we should have had as a cushion to get us through here.
Okay, anybody else?
Comments noted.
Comments
Thank you.
noted.
I think I have one other comment. I think that considering the fund situation, spreading it the 50% for each employee, but we know as municipalities that the employees that are at the office working and ones that aren't, that should be considered by this board. There is plans that are not implemented, there's been meetings that are canceled, there is continued issues with your director at this point. And these ladies are taking his slack and the complaints from the municipalities. Is that going to be addressed by this board? Because we're paying our public shares to get services, and at this point, I feel some of my public share is being wasted. And I'm a very small municipality, and every dime I spend needs to have a reason. So I would really like to request, as a municipality, what is going to happen. I understand that there's medical issues, all of those things, but something needs to be done for the wages that are being paid for that. I'm sorry.
Anyone else?
I'm sorry, I just had one follow-up. I know as mentioned before, in my previous comments, an answer indicated that this is subject to change. Will we be notified if there's going to be a change in availability of your staff and of your office?
Yes, you'll be notified.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Comments? Duly noted. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
It was.
Okay. All those in favor, say yay.
Hey,
All those against, say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes. Is that all we have?
Media.
I have one question. So this runs through January 23rd, so I assume at some point prior to that you'll make an announcement whether this is going to continue or end.
Yep, that'll be reevaluated at our December meeting. and possibly after that if need be. Hopefully we get back to the office and somebody makes a phone call to the legislature, came to an agreement.
So can I ask then a question for staff? When we go back to the office today, are we looking at, we are putting a plan in place today that also includes laptop, emails, phones, all of that stuff. So we have answers today when we leave the office
Yeah,
today.
you guys are gonna work that all out amongst yourselves as to how you're going to work and what equipment's gonna be needed and stuff like that.
Okay, and then who is sending the email to all the municipalities and also the county staff that have been inquiring about what is going on?
We'll work that out this afternoon. It may depend on who's in contact with whom at that point. It'll probably be one big email goes out to everybody. We gotta work that out yet.
Anything else? This meeting is now adjourned.